Stranding, despite what people might tell you, is a video game. So much so, it reminds you several times.
What happened to the CD, guys? Game over, man.
Made by the most normal, least horny Japanese man and fashion designer who finally has enough money to play dollhouse with celebrities and prove once and for all that weird doomers, cool boomers, and tar coomers are no match against the power of the worker. My best description would be, it feels like playing SnowRunner but set during End of Evangelion. When I first played Death Stranding, I really didn't like it, because I thought it was just a bunch of walking and the worst fucking boss fights in history. And it is. But for some reason, I couldn't get enough this time. Join me in finding out why I enjoyed it so much more the second time. I'm spoiling the entire game, by the way. Okay, first of all, the gameplay. And now the plot. In Russian driving simulator. Suddenly one day the connection between people and the afterlife was cut. If someone dies and their body isn't incinerated, they turn into BTs or beach things, which are spooky monster things. If a BT eats someone, it causes a nuke-sized explosion. So naturally the world got pretty fucked up by this. But why does this happen? Everyone who's alive have a beach, which is kind of like a purgatory where you go before you move on to the afterlife when you die. And now people are stranded on the beach. And as we know, when white people are left on the beach for too long, they become horrible monsters. In this strange new world, the only acceptable style is techwear, and people rename themselves their biggest character trait. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, a depressed man delivering pizzas to people living in self-isolation, hiding from an invisible threat. So, a DoorDash employee in 2020. Also, he has a phobia against being touched. And he's a repatriate, which means he can't die. It's fucking wild. Along with Sam is BB the tactical baby.
You should remember that BBs are just equipment. Try not to get attached.
Which helps him spot monsters. When your adoptive mom / the president wants you to go across the country and give everyone free Wi-Fi, Sam is reluctant.
America's finished. Bridget, you're the president of Jack shit.
But she tells him his sister is captured by cringe super terrorists in California before she straight up dies. And it's hard to argue with that. So yeah, you toss your mom in the oven, adopt a dumpster baby, and you're on your way to save America. Confused? Good. It only gets worse. Taking a piss with your baby, delivering mail-order brides, throwing poop grenades at a cum monster after downing tons of monster energy, and oogling Mormon Chungus's package. These are just a few of the very bizarre and unique experiences Meth Outstanding has to offer. And a point or two that, while there's clearly a lot of thought gone into explaining why every single one of these things makes sense, you don't have to take it that seriously. Like many Kojima games, it feels like he's kind of freestyling while on mushrooms, and some intern has to make everything make sense. Okay, so the cowboy Russian from the first game, which is actually the third game, who got his hand cut off by a ninja, now has grafted the hand of the dead previous villain onto himself.
そういう感じです。なんで世界をつなげていくっていうお話を考えたときに世界をつなげるゲームデザイン。
So he's still alive?
まあ今までやってきたことをもう一回、ディテールを追加していくとかはっきりさせていくっていう。
Oh, okay. So kind of like this vamp guy, the way he thinks he's a vampire?
やってるという感じがします。
Okay, so and his name is a vamp.
The hell does that even mean?
But unlike the Metal Gear series, which was more about the nature of politics and war and society,
do you even know who Big Chungus is?
Death Stranding, at least to me, is much more about capturing something else. Something more floating. And the bizarre plot and characters of Death Stranding somehow makes it feel even more believable to me. Just something about the contrast between the incredibly mundane action and the absolutely insane plot.
Like Mario in Princess Beach.
Almost feels like you're just some guy trying to do your job while the entire world's gone off their shits on fentanyl.
SpongeBob, I've overdosed on ketamine and I'm going to die.
The gameplay loop is mostly 5 hours of delivering a package or getting a package from point A to point B without being stopped by ghosts or thieves. Sometimes you deliver a pizza, sometimes you deliver a nuclear bomb. Cheered on by other players saying, "Keep on keeping on." And then there's a 30-minute art film with the budget of Ohio. And once in a while, this fucking asshole attacks you with his wacky cum Pokemons. But all you really need to know is that this fucking guy
The name's Higgs, the particle of God.
is not the antagonist of the story. It's actually That's right, I'm pulling out the mama-loving goofball and wonky cornerstone of all psychology. You might not know this, but he had more wacky theories than just that people want to sex their mom.
If we are to take it as truth that knows no exception, that everything living dies for eternal reasons, becoming inorganic once again, then we shall be compelled to say that the aim of all life is death.
Now prepare for some serious paraphrasing. Sigmund Freud more or less argues that since life itself is nothing more than the inanimate world come to a realization of the self, it also has an intrinsic urge to return to such nothingness. Everything used to be dead, and then some stuff wasn't dead. And now you have to go to work and eat and stuff. And so now the stuff that's alive kinda wants to be dead again. The death drive. Freud also has this thing called the pleasure principle. Humans act in ways that give them the most possible pleasure. But hold on, because that doesn't mean achieving as much pleasure as possible, but also to avoid non-pleasure. And since being an alive thinking being is pain enough in itself, the ultimate pleasure principle upholding would then be death! Slovenian philosopher Alenka Zupančič, sorry if I butchered that, actually argues that the pleasure principle and death drive are the same thing. Why do we even bother being alive if it's just an endless cycle of bullshit? Are we just a monkey with a too big brain who fooled ourselves into thinking there's meaning in all this? Shouldn't we use our super brain power to just kill ourselves and everything?
No matter what you, me, or anybody else does, humanity has a few 100,000 years left, tops. Why don't we just cut to the chase? Accept our fate. Let the creatures before us. We all know what's coming. Why delay the inevitable? Those of us with dooms, her, we're all bound here for a reason. We are all of us a part of the death
drive. Then there's the sexy drive. We have a natural compulsion to reproduce, which in some ways goes up against the pleasure principle. It, for example, might postpone the death/pleasure drive until your family or tribe or country or empire or spore creature doesn't need you anymore. So to me, the death drive is kind of like this deep inner truth in all people that at the end of it all, it's all meaningless.
Get in, loser, we're going
To the void. Remember what this was about really? So why fight? Especially if we aren't happy or content, which no one in Death Stranding is. Dead man can't connect with people, die-hard man can't forgive himself, fragile struggles with extreme trauma, Mama and Heart Man went through enormous loss, and Conan O'Brien isn't funny.
I've got an otter one. Come on. Come on, otter one?
They're all looking desperately for a reason to live in a dying world.
The world's still broken. The same as before.
What isn't? But we're still here. We're still chugging along.
Now, Jack Lacan, last philosopher I swear, pointed out that with the sexual drive, a death drive isn't really about destroying yourself, but rather about restarting an endless cycle of life. A drive to continue a repeating pattern already within a repetition of patterns and instincts of self-preservation. And a repetition of satisfaction accidentally created within the repetition of self-preservation. God damn it! I started making this video because Death Stranding cured my depression. I now have dug myself into this stupid esoteric existentialism hole. Okay, let me think. Okay, I think I know how to get out of this. Sam doesn't fight for a higher power or anything like that. He fights on because his friends and family need him. And in the process, he finds content and sometimes even happiness.
Sweet fucking relief.
Even though he says he doesn't at the end, I don't count that because he has to deep fry his baby, and that would make anyone a little cranky. In real life, progression is slow. It's not an explosive hit of endorphins every 10 seconds, but a slow burn, where you barely see it at first. But by the end, it's more rewarding. Same goes with healing from grief. There's no one story thing that happens and Sam is healed. You barely even notice it. You just keep on keeping on, and one day it doesn't hurt so much. At some point, Sam stops calling his BB BB and gives her a name.
Kid's not just a tool. Name's Lou.
And then later,
I found some records from 10 years ago. A death, sudden, in the middle of a town. Young woman in the prime of her life. Nobody knew until it was too late. A void out. Her husband, who was a member of Bridges, had dooms. He tried, but he couldn't get to her in time. The whole town was wiped off the map, leaving nothing but a big crater and him, because he was a repatriate. The man felt responsible, so he left. And his wife, who died, her name was Lucy. She'd been pregnant for a woman. They were going to name their son Lou.
Didn't happen.
But it did.
and then you realize the whole game has been Sam dealing with his grief by touching an incredible amount of grass. Another better title, by the way. He's slowly becoming more accepting of others, and even overcomes his phobia. I think I didn't enjoy Death Stranding the first time because I was happy and content.
I don't want peace. I want problems, always!
This second time around, I had failed my diet, failed my freelancing business, and failed at getting a job I want. And that other video I spent months making got only like a couple hundred views. Please go see it. And I'm not gonna lie, that shit sucks ass. I didn't feel like trying anymore. I just wanted to lay down and fucking die. So I put on the game where all you have to do is push the stick forward and everyone loves you.
Congratulations! 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 Thank you all.
But I found something else in there. Death Stranding is one of very few experiences that feels like work, but in that good way, where you learn to find satisfaction in the struggle again. And if you can do that, then life isn't quite so bad anymore. Working and reaching out sucks, but also it doesn't. Being alive is nothing but extended suffering. Except it isn't. You just need to find that repetition of satisfaction accidentally created within the repetition of self-preservation. Ha! See? Themes. And even though it's hard and annoying,
I am Germa, Sword of Edward.
we still need to connect with people, to be understood. It's why I work so hard on these videos. Yeah, that's right. Men would rather spend weeks making an elaborate video essay than go to therapy. I guess what I'm really saying is that most video games substitute reality for a better world, enabling escapism, which can be detrimental to dealing with the big sad. But this game is so fucking boring, and yet rewarding. It made me want to touch grass. Death Stranding is outstanding because it is undemanding. Did you like the video? Sweet, because I liked making it. And it would be really cool if you would consider subscribing. Also, I have a Patreon made out of the most sexy, amazing people in the world. Bye bye!
O nosso trabalho aqui é feito este ano.